everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Welcome home. Pat, how are you?
Welcome home. Good. Great to be here. Great to see you. I just realized right before we came on air, I'm literally turning into my dad as we speak.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
Because he's always getting yelled at for any time they have a party. Right before the party, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? Let's build a deck real quick before the guests get here. And I'm kind of doing that. I was working on my kitchen studio, whatever here, like up minutes until the show starts. And I'm like, oh, you know what? We have a show to plan for. And it starts in 10 minutes.
2 minutes. Well, it all looks very good from where I'm sitting, but I understand that. It's those are like the incentives that get you going sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How's your life? How's your world? What's going on?
Things are good. We are very excited, and we will bring on our guest, Joaquín Beltrán, in a moment. But I do have my phone on because we are back to fires escalating again in Los Angeles with horrible, winds and all of that. And I know that our wonderful guest is doing heroic work. So we quickly just want to thank our members before we bring him on and say a huge shout out and cheers to all of our pup heroes and sheroes. You guys are amazing. We love and adore you. We love doing this with you a few times a week. And we are talking about adding another day or two. So we're doing that because of you. So thanks, you guys. Cheers to all of you.
Here.
And a quick reminder to make sure you like and subscribe and smash that notification bell so that you can be notified when we come on with breaking news. Or if we have to have a schedule change. All right. With that said, all the notes from the front office, we are so thrilled to welcome to the show Mr. Joaquín Beltrán. Hello and welcome. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for your patience as I'm kind of in between things here.
I mean, have you slept in 2 weeks? Like what? You're nonstop.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Yeah, not great quality sleep. So yeah, last night was the first time I got to sleep in.
Oh my goodness.
And so yeah, it was strange not having like some commitment to do like at the beginning of the day there. So
let's start because we have actually talked about you on the show, and we even did a little montage clip of you a few weeks ago and did a big cheers to you for doing so much work. But can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then also what you're doing right now?
Yeah. So I guess I'm a helper.
Mr. Rogers.
Best way to put it. And so, I've been active on public health. I helped start an organization called actioncareequity.org, Speak Up America. All those things have been, helpful during the pandemic, helpful during this this wildfire response and lack of response, unfortunately, from our public officials very early on, at the very least. And so I'm also, I build software, yeah, it just
okay.
I try to use my skills to help whatever way I can.
Yeah. So you've been very outspoken about COVID, which we talk about COVID every single show. One of the few sort of podcasts on the left that recognizes that we're still in the midst of an ongoing pandemic. But that had you well situated for what was necessitated by these fires and the toxic air.
Yeah. So I could share a little bit of how that went down. So, I think for us, at least, who practice mask wearing for preventing COVID, right? We understand its benefits. The other benefits are, during wildfire smoke, right? So I did put out a tweet as like we expected, fires to happen because of the advisory, just letting people know that there's a huge benefit to wearing N95s. And so later that evening, I'm there, alongside my mom. I'm on X, and I see this group of, seniors who are being evacuated from their senior home. And I was just stunned, right? Because a lot of them didn't have masks, and if they had masks, they were just surgical. They weren't, N95s, and even N95s for, like, especially if you're right there on the front lines of wildfire smoke, they're insufficient. Better than nothing, but you really need a P100. And so, anyways, the TV's on too, like right there in the lobby, and I see the same scene, right? Like, just different angle of, these, seniors being evacuated out of their senior home. And something in that moment just broke in me. And I just said to myself, I got to go do something, right? So I had a pack of like over 100 N95s, right? For like various ones that I've just had. I grabbed that. I grabbed like a fan, box fan, and then a 20 by 20 MERV 13 filter, some tape, and then a box of water. And I think that was it. I put it in the back of my car, and I just drove straight to that senior care center. I didn't know where it was exactly. I just knew it was Altadena. And so I'm kind of like researching, trying to find where it is along the way. And then as I'm getting closer, I could see on the hillside the fire, right? And it did. In that moment, I kind of second guessed, me going, but I just reminded myself it's not about me, right? That there's like an obvious need right now to help these seniors. And so, I just kept going. And then I figured it out along the way. The winds were brutal. When I opened my car, I struggled to like close it back up. And I parked in an area where like the Rite Aid sign had like fallen over and there was like fire on the hill. And then, I just like did a little bit more research, and I went to the area where it was supposed to be at, but I didn't see the seniors there or any, emergency crew other than, the firefighters putting it out. So I got out to try to ask somebody, and in that process, like all these embers come my way, right? Luckily, I had goggles on, right? I had an N95, should have had better than that. But, if I didn't have goggles on, it easily like would have hurt my eyes, because these like huge amount of embers just like flew. And I'm like, all right, I got to get back to my car. Went back to my car, drove around, and I was going block by block at some point, and on every block there was a fire. Right. And so in that moment, I knew, okay, this is not going to be contained easily. Yeah. And this is going to be bad. So anyways, someone online told me, hey, All Saints Church and Pasadena Convention Center are where evacuees are going. So I went to All Saints Church. I gave them all the masks I had, the water, and they were very grateful for it, right? Like they're like, yeah, people have been asking for masks, right? I'm like, okay, cool. So, and then after that, I'm like, all right, let me go to the Pasadena Convention Center, right? See, if the seniors are there, and I went there, and I connect with the people there very quickly. The heads of the people who are managing that senior center are telling me that one of their seniors is wheezing, and so I'm asking, right, everybody there who appears to be in charge, or has some form of authority, supposedly. City of Pasadena, no mask. Red Cross, no mask.
Sorry, but this was a senior center,
No,
originally.
It's the evacuation center for them, right?
Yeah, sorry. So like my original destination was a senior center, because that's where people were being evacuated. So my plan was, okay, give them at least N95s, right? So they're not breathing.
But how amazing is it that at a senior center, they didn't have N95s, just because we are like 800 people are dying every week from COVID and it's ongoing. Like there were no N95s or at the evacuation center. Like it's amazing.
At least as far as I know, right?
Yeah.
I know that is its own thing, right? Of just like, why is that the case? And so anyways, yeah, I'm asking everybody, right? The police, everybody, and no one has N95s. And so I'm like, all right, you know, it's past 11. All the, you know, usual stores that would have it, they're closed. So then I started asking online, right? Does anyone have N95s, right? That I could bring to these people here at the EVAC Center, right? The Pasadena Convention Center. And so, you know, in about an hour, I got messages, like, I don't know, maybe almost 10 messages from a bunch of different people. Just individuals who just been, and I think they're all in the, you know, COVID safe space, and offering masks, you know, hey, you could pick some up at my house, like from there in Pasadena to like North Hollywood to like the West Side. And so, you know, one of them was from my friend Abby, who's there at Mass Block LA. And so, so, you know, I had worked with her a lot throughout the last couple of years. And so, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll go there first. And so, you know, when I got there, like, it was over 1,000 masks that she was able to give me. And so I'm like, okay, I don't want to be driving all over, right? And it was amazing. Like, thank you to everyone. Like, you know, Orgasmic was another crew that offered that night. You know, a lot of amazing people. And so, but, you know, I wanted to address the need as urgently as I could, as quickly as I could. And so, you know, I'm like, okay, this is enough for the people who are there right now to have masks, right? So let me just do that, right? And then I'll worry about getting more later. So then, yeah, I do that. I come back, and I know it's important not just to offer masks, like, hey, there's masks here, but to like hand it to somebody for them to take it, right? And so I did that across the whole site. So, you know, I don't know what the count was, but, you know, easily more than 1,000 masks were gone by the time I finished that. And so that took me into like the morning around like 8 a.m. or something. And so at that point, I'm connecting with the LA, you know, public or the Pasadena health people, public health people. I'm like, hey, we're gonna need more N95s, right? So, so how can we get some? And they're like, no, you're our guy, right? Like,
It's you.
I'm like, no, that's ridiculous.
Wow.
Thank God you were watching TV at the exact right moment and hopped in your car. Like, what?
Yeah, I think you're such a great lesson here, because it's twofold. It's that they're not going to save us, and we got to help ourselves. And that's why you're such a great example, and appreciate everything you're doing there.
Thank you. Thank you both. I learned that lesson by March of 2020, because I kept, you know, tweeting at the top of my lungs, which is like, whatever, you know, noise in itself. But like, there was a moment in March of 2020 where I was like in my room, just like walking around, and it dawned on me, they're not coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, right? So like, then I raised money to get N95s. We ended up getting KN95s and giving that to the LA County hospitals, right? As individuals, right? That's March 2020. So like, the lesson is there for me, right? So like that, maybe that's why I didn't hesitate when I saw the need there, and I knew like it's always up to us, right? It's never up to anybody else, right? Especially like as this thing went down, you know, I'm glad BBC ended up reaching out to me. We did an interview. I never put it out on Twitter. Maybe I should.
You should, because it's amazing what you're doing. Truly amazing what you're doing. And especially, we are having more fires now. COVID is still here. Bird flu. Like, I mean, was there any hesitancy about wearing masks that have been so sort of, you know, almost criminalized by our mayor?
I know, right? Hesitancy, you're asking, like, from the people.
From the people you were handing them to.
Yeah, there's a whole. So okay, the first round, less than a handful that said no. Okay, that's like nearly 1,000 people, maybe, right? That I handed it to, right? Yeah. And so, you know, I think just like as a case study right there, it proves the point that, you know, people want to protect their health, right? Yeah. And especially in something as evident as, you know, wildfire smoke, which is clearly evident, right? If you're able to see it, or like you feel it, right?
Yeah.
Then you want that protection, right? And it was clear that night that the air quality indoors was being affected by the air quality outbreak.
Yeah.
And so they did fix that a few days out, which was notable. But that night it was very clear that the air quality in there was bad. So everyone, nearly everyone, right? Like 99% of people.
What about the firefighters? I think you've been closer to them than we have. I know when we see the incarcerated firefighters right next to the flames, they don't have any protective masks or goggles on. Do you know if the non-incarcerated firefighters are given protective gear, or is that just across the board that they go and inhale cancer?
I can't speak to that accurately because I haven't gotten like firsthand experience. So,
Okay.
What I have heard from like friends of those who are part of the group of firefighters that are incarcerated, that like someone from outside is offering a P100, that's not being accepted. But this is all hearsay, right? So I can't speak like firsthand. I'm very careful about that stuff.
Yeah. No,
there's a
of
lot
course.
of stuff people say, but
fake news. No, okay. Yeah.
But when like I engage in it personally, it's like often a different story. So like it's hard to say. The other thing, one thing I would tell you though is that some people do hesitate in wearing a higher quality mask, especially if they are in a high risk group of like being targeted, because and this is just like what I've heard from people familiar, is that it makes them look suspicious, right, if they have that on, I think. So like that's a thing, unfortunately. So that's one challenge, even if they are available, P100s, to like overcome that hurdle that, hey, we want you to wear this. It's important for your health, very, very important, especially when you're, dealing with these toxins, to wear the best protection, right? And actually, wearing a P100, when I eventually did, it's like a shock to me. I'm like, wow, this is what it's like to breathe the clean air. It was really nice, actually.
Yeah, I've only N95 is my highest. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You're talking about the painting operation with the filter from the side, the mask.
On me, but I've got one of those. Exactly. Yeah.
And are those filters need to be replaced? Is that how it is? Or
they're canister filters?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly. They need to be replaced ever so often.
So are you having to also come up with the replacement? Like, I understand, and it's amazing that you were able to hand out individual masks to individual people, but with all of the toxins, like what's happening 2 weeks in? I mean, some people haven't been able, obviously, to go back to their homes. We have fires still. The toxins are still here because of all the rubber and metals burning.
Yeah. So as far as I know, for example, I about like a week and a half ago, I started, bringing the do-it-yourself air filters, also known as, of course, the rolls in the boxes, and try to bring some to senior care facilities that were there on the front line of up to the point where like you can no longer go because there was still an evacuation order, right? So like I went to one of those and they were there like on the other side of the evacuation order where they couldn't get back in, right? So that's where I came across the National Guard, the police, right? And they told me, they're like, oh, okay, at least 2 weeks in, right? Or at least 2 weeks where like we probably won't open this area up. But then, across the street, that's opened up, right? So,
where the air is good.
Well, no, the air
I'm joking. It's like the smoking, non-smoking section. Like, okay, right, yeah.
Right. It's arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
It's in some ways. Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So like in one senior care facility that's on the border there, me and my friend Claudia, we brought, I think, around 10 or something, right? And so, being there early at the Pasadena Convention Center was helpful in that it was all ad hoc, right? And so like everyone there is kind of like a leader because they're the ones who stepped up and are doing the thing, right?
Right.
And so
lots of politicians.
Huh?
Just kidding. Lots of politicians.
Well, I did hear politicians like having like their like advance teams come in and like get information before they came in. So that was
Right.
that was a little.
But I mean, being on the front and doing this yourself, you have to just look at our government and say, why isn't there an advocate for these seniors in this center making this stuff happen? And why did LA give the police a lot of the COVID budget? And it just spirals to
why is the National Guard not
ineptitude.
doing anything helpful but just standing there with huge guns?
Yeah, I mean, they should have, like, if they were able to like help like put out the fires earlier, like they should have been called right away on day one, right? In order to help put out the fires, because I mean, so much to unpack.
There's so much,
but let's put it this way, right? If there were individuals who were able to put out fires for their homes, right? That is the argument to show that resourcing the fire department with more firefighters, with more fire trucks, then you could have scaled this, right? And
Rick Caruso managed to save his Palisades Mall, right?
Right. So that's one example. However, he did that if he took like water away from like
it's disgusting.
So
but I mean, it was possible. Like even in the center of a horrific outbreak.
But that's exactly right. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
That's the point. And so we I did another interview where I shared that we're just not focused on the right things, right?
Yeah.
Safety is not responding to a crime that already happened, right? Safety is preventing things from happening in the first.
We lost you just for a second.
I lost
no, it's okay. Yeah, we lost you just for a second.
Safety is making sure that people are safe from the get-go, right? That they're not in danger in any way. Case in point here, the wildfires. If we had more resources, that's more homes that would have been saved. There are people who try to save their homes too, and it's.
Joaquin is on site still working, which is why he's talking to us from his vehicle. And as I said at the beginning, the fires, you're back for a second. I know it's so kind of you to take time away from doing all of your work to talk to us in the car, but I know that's probably what's causing a break.
Sorry, I'm having an issue with my sound, so I can't hear.
Okay, can you hear us now? Yeah. He is amazing. Oh, well, all right.
Is it okay if I hop back on?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get you back
on. Fix the sound.
All right. We're here. Okay. While he is fixing the sound, Hope, thank you for the super sticker. And also, it was in the middle of him talking about, working really hard. But yes, he sure is handsome. We will make sure he hears that from you, especially after 2 weeks of nonstop work. I mean, the morning, I went to bed at whatever it was, like 4 or 5 in the morning, the very first night of the fires. And I was tracking Joaquin, actually was one of the people I was tracking because we had no communication from the city, like nothing. So it was Joaquin and other people who were showing up and doing work. And when I woke up like 4 hours later, there was another video from him saying, okay, I've been here all night. I'm going to go home just for a few minutes, clean up, and I'll be back. Like, he has been truly a hero.
Absolutely. And just like I said already, but a perfect example of what we need as the left comes together. We need to recognize, and this is a guy who's worked in politics, but government is not going to save us. They're failing at their job.
Yep.
Our job is to help each other and form community across the full spectrum of people, the synergy of different groups, the fact that Mass Block LA and so many people like Joaquin came together to tangibly help people, brings them not only into our leftist cause, but just gets them on board with, look, nobody else is doing this. You can't put your faith in the government to solve these problems, and we need to fix things. We need to change things, and until we do, it's us.
Yeah, absolutely. So Joaquin, I've seen you write, and like Mask Block LA and other individuals on Twitter writing that, as you were starting to talk about, that government officials were directly coming to you and to them to try to source out masks. And I mean, you were even getting like water, and you were asking, I remember at one point, for Tylenol. Like, what's happening in a city where, like, we know we have earthquakes and we have fires. Like, you know, I have 2 kids, and every year at the beginning of the year, and I'd never done this before in my life, you have to bring to the school an emergency bag for your child that has, you know, a few different food things, and you know, a kind of blanket, a note, like, and a picture of the family. Like, they take it pretty seriously, because we all know that there are going to be catastrophes happening. How do we have a whole city in the richest state in the richest country in the world, right?
Yeah. The problem is that a lot of these people who are in these you know, in these roles, right, politicians, whatever, the system's very corrupt, right? There's a kleptocracy that takes place, right? So a lot of people are there to like benefit themselves and their friends, kind of thing, right? Government contracts, dibs on real estate. Like, that's literally like a lot of the corruption that takes place there, right?
I mean, Karen Bass's note thanking LA was just a list of some of the biggest companies.
Yeah, you know, if it wasn't for Disney, thank you, shout out to Disney. I don't know if they're sponsored, but like,
thanks to the Resnicks. Yeah.
So it was kind of a joke, right? It's like, hey, thank you to Netflix, Disney, blah blah blah. Which, you know, I'm sure they do like some great work on some of their philanthropy arm. But I didn't see Disney out there. You know, maybe they were, but like, you know, the point is that
Disney actually stayed open during the fires and forced their workers to come man Disneyland. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But no, you were paying attention, because you mentioned there was no Tylenol as well, right? So you were paying attention as I was like, I was sharing this because it was a good way, like, to share with people what's going on, and also like bring in resources, which we needed.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there was no Tylenol. It's like later on, maybe like nearly 24 hours later, where they like started bringing in some medicines, you know. I mean, that doesn't even begin to describe like the need, right? Like, you really did need like just like someone like in a social work capacity checking in with every individual, especially like those who are seniors, elderly, those who are disabled, right? Because it's hard for them to ask for help, or even like, this is like huge space, right, at the convention, right? Like, you know,
how many people were in that? How many people were in that particular one? Do you know about?
I think it ranged between like maybe 700 to 1,000, you know, about.
Yeah.
So and yeah, you know, I remember seeing some images from Katrina, and I'm like, wow, this is here, you know, this is happening here. And, you know, a lot of people were asking about FEMA early on. We couldn't give them a response at all. So, you know, eventually FEMA did step in. You know, I even have one friend I'm about to, hopefully I can still visit him. He's at a FEMA site. He lost his home. And so I'm going to go visit him. Yeah, 85 years old, lost his home. And yeah, I know 5 people personally who have lost their homes in Malibu and Altadena. And so, yeah, I mean, this is, you know, I've been hearing this is the biggest crisis that LA's ever had. And, you know, you look at the videos, the footage, all of it, you know, long-term consequences that are going to unfold from people not having proper protections, you know. And
you know what's amazing? Yeah. What's amazing to me is, you know, you bring up the need for all these people to check in one-on-one and whatnot.
Yeah.
It just shows how useless the budget for the police are in this state, in this county, to me, because you know, you've got a police budget that's bigger than most countries' militaries, and if you can't put them to use to at least just go hand out masks and check in on people, what good are they? You see these rows of them lined up on the highway doing fuck all, getting overtime.
Overtime, yeah, with their guns.
And it's just so
Right.
insulting.
Yeah. I want to share too that that the people who did step up, right, are just neighbors and community members, right? Like this tragedy that continues to unfold. It's all the people, like, we as community members, like, by and large, have been stepping up. It's amazing to see how many people have gotten involved, engaged, right? And like I know that we're in the COVID safety space, right? And so that's kind of like a lot of like our awareness, but like, you know, like the Pasadena Job Center, right? Like they, like all these donations, right, of all these things that people who, you know, are either there like on the border or like lost their homes, like, you know, getting resources, right, from places like this, right? There's an ARCO that opened up. That's been a spot, right, where like donations are sent and also distributed. Like so many organizations, right? Like we work with Midnight Books here as a partner to build 500
Percy Rosenthal
boxes. Right, and also like Corsi Rosenthal, like, you know, foundation stepping in to like provide us the supplies to make that happen, right? So like across the board, it's just been so beautiful, right? Like Orgasmic, Clean Air LA, right? Like you mentioned, Mass Block LA as well. ACE Coalition, shout out to all the crew who has stepped up here. Like, yeah, it's been amazing. It's been beautiful. And so like there's a lot of, you know, organizations that are just on the front lines, right, that are always doing the work in communities that are underrepresented, right? And so for me, it was like, okay, like I trust you guys because you guys have been doing the work, amazing work forever. Let me get you the resources so that you can distribute to the right folks, right? Like there at the Pasadena Job Center, it's day laborers, okay, jornaleros, who are doing the cleanup, right? Okay, and that is, for me, it's heartbreaking because, you know, these are people who came to the United States for the American dream, and you know, they're engaging in the cleanup of some of the most toxic things, right? So like, you know, I got them, I think we so far probably like 6,000 N95s. Gonna get them another shipment, try to get them over 10,000.
That's amazing.
Brought them P100s as well, like a few that were sent to me. I don't know who sent that. Thank you, whoever you are out there. Amazing.
But it's so disturbing. These frontline workers don't get that from the government. You know, the frontline people, the most impacted. You know,
that's basic, right? That's basic. Like just okay. There's harm in the air, right? Okay, let's just make sure everything else we do, you're protected from the get-go from that, right? Not like down the line, not weeks later, right?
Yeah.
Like once
we'll overcharge you for your cancer in 5 years.
Yeah. There you go. That, right? So anyways,
no, that is beautiful, but it is heartbreaking because these are the people who most need to make a living, make some money, and they're volunteering to take care of a community with no protection.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. The least protection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Corsi Rosenthal, the box project. So who are those boxes going to largely?
So we've already distributed over 3,000 to like that area, Altadena, Pasadena.
So mostly the residents. And
yeah. So like, but most of those have been distributed from like the job center to residents, or you know, we put them into some senior homes, right? What else? A few of the rooms there at the EVAC, Pasadena Convention Center. Actually, I built some there at the convention center, right? Because that was the spot where I was at for the first few days. And so, you know, we got like, you know, I don't know, like it was maybe like 10, right? Supplies early on. So I just brought all the boxes and assembled the Corsi Rosenthal boxes there in the lobby of the.
That's awesome. You're showing them how it's done. You know, you're inspiring other people.
Yeah. You know what was good? Ultimate did bring some HEPA filters and did distribute it. And so there was some like, you know, it should have been done right away, all these things, but like, you know, so that there was some thought on that.
Joaquin, can I ask you about the Corsi Rosenthal boxes? How often do those filter? How do you know when the filters have to be changed out, and how often does that? I mean, obviously, when the toxic, like during the fire, it's
yeah. I mean, so based on conversations I've been a part of and just like heard is like as that filter is getting more things, it's actually improving the filtration as well. So it's kind of like that, like because also like you don't want to shake it too, right? Like have too many things on there and then like that's back in the air kind of
right
so it's kind of it depends like how much is it being exposed to too, right?
Right.
How
Can you see it just as
you
it
can
gets
see it.
so
You
that
can,
okay.
And
you can see
and I
it.
saw that
Yeah.
a batch of filters that was donated has the Bluetooth setting in it now
That's
to tell
pretty
you
cool.
when you need to change your
the
filter. That's
yeah,
awesome.
That's pretty cool. So that's a nice little thing. So we added the little label there so people are aware of that. The other place it's going to. So last week I spoke to I did the public comment at the LAUSD, and I asked a couple of times who can I speak to so that we make this happen, so that we get filters, right? And so I ended up speaking with their office afterward, and we solidified a partnership with LAUSD in order to get filters into their classrooms. And so that is happening, which is like long time coming. And a lot of advocates along the way, a lot of advocates who are online, a lot of advocates who are not online, who've been doing work there. And so finally it's just like, hey, you'll have to see the video, but essentially they had 5 air filters in that room, right? And so I asked them, why is it's great, good for you guys have 5 air filters.
Davos safe, right?
Yeah,
they're Davos safe.
Yeah, and so this room is the equivalent of about 3 classrooms. So why is it the case that classrooms don't have these filters, right? But there's disproportionately good clean air in this room, right? And so I just I showed them like the huge gap there, right, in equity, obviously, and just offered, hey, like I'll help you, like let's do this together, because we've been doing it, right, like with individual teachers, right, in classrooms, and actually a whole school last week. But instead of going school by school, teacher by teacher, like let's work together with you, and let's make this happen. So now like we're gonna address all the schools in the most immediately high impacted areas of the fires, and move on from there, right?
That's amazing.
So yeah, that's underway.
That's huge. That's actually huge.
Yeah, I mean, you can connect this to COVID hopefully next, they see the benefits of clean air and how you've got organizers making it happen. Why can't the government put a couple bucks into this and do the obvious?
Well, so what's interesting is that one of them responded saying that, oh, we brought these in because of COVID, right? And I told them, well, COVID is still happening, flu cases are increasing, and they're dual purpose, right? Because they also help with this wildfire smoke, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to make it clear to them right there that, hey, great, you brought it in for COVID, but one, COVID is still happening, and also it's dual purpose, right? So like to your point, Patrick, like yes. Right.
And third, there have been studies that show that when the air is clean, like that, when it's filtered, kids perform so much. Not that it's like, not that we should only be focused on tests, but it's just like a way of measuring. Their test scores go up. Like
they're more alert,
think more clearly.
It's not rocket science.
Well, yeah, it impacts your health, right?
Yeah.
Air quality impacts your health, right?
Yeah.
And your health is all of it, right?
Yeah.
Every part of your body, including one's brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're amazing. And I know we said we would only keep you for half an hour, but so many people are asking where they could send donations. And my first thing is like, never to any politician, never to any of these PACs, and like save the Senate, blah, whatever. But do you have any that you could tell us about, or maybe you can tell me later or us later and we'll like put it in the description, or is there anything that comes to mind?
I'll tell you later. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Pasadena Job Center. That's a good one.
Okay.
Like if you went there, you'd see, how impactful, how many people are coming through, like all that stuff, right? And they've always done great work. So yeah, just from the bat, like just shout out to them.
Well, we'll reach out to you
Yeah.
later and pick your brain. And also,
Okay.
can you tell people where they can find you? Both at the job center and the evacuation centers, but online.
Yeah, at Joaquín Life, most places, or my whole name maybe, Joaquín Beltrán is maybe another username out there. But that's basically it. But shout out to you guys, because I love that you guys stand up for the right things, for people's health and also for justice in Palestine too, and speaking out against the genocide on that. So I'm eternally grateful for you putting out the truth out there, because it is tough going against power. It is tough, but the more people who take courageous stances, the more courage it encourages for others.
Absolutely.
Right, to be courageous, right? And so thank you both.
It's a good kind of contagion.
That's why we wanted you on, because look, the people that are out there putting theory into praxis right here. It's one thing to say, oh, the politicians aren't doing it for us, but then what's next? We got to do it. We got to rally each other to support community and help each other. And you're an example of it. You don't need to read more theory. You need to help guys like Joaquín out here and do more of that. I mean, read some theory. Don't get me wrong, but help people, So you're amazing. Appreciate everything you're doing.
You really are. Thank you. And, we'd love to have you back on anytime, anything else you're working on. And I and Pat also so appreciate your activism on COVID, or your being so outspoken on COVID, what you're doing now. And of course, but also, yes, talking about the genocide. It feels like there's a Venn diagram of people who actually do care about people, right? And you're one of them. So we're thrilled to get to meet you sort of in person.
Yeah, special place in my heart for all those people, which are you too. Thank you guys. Please, if I could be helpful in any way, please reach out. God bless you guys, and thank you for having me on your show.
Likewise,
you.
Be safe.
Stay
please.
Safe.
We need more help from you.
Likewise.
Right,
thanks so much.
Guys.
Take care. Bye. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. And he's there right now. Like, he popped in as he's cleaning brush out, and
probably feeling bad that he's not helping the other people with him clean it.
Yeah, I know.
That's how busy he is doing the real work. So
very Hollywood. He
amazing.
had to quickly hop into a show. No, I'm kidding. I mean, he is amazing. That's incredible, because I think, I have to be honest, that as places were being evacuated, and I didn't ask him, but I was looking, like, I would not have thought I could drive into a place where they were telling people to evacuate, and he just went in there and did it. And as he mentioned, Mass Block LA, and there were 2 other places in addition to the Pasadena Job Center, but we will get the exact names of these places and their donation links and put them in the description. We'll add it later on today, but kudos to him. Seriously, cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers. Cheers.
All right. Should we spin the wheel?
Yeah, let's spin the wheel. Bring some levity or something. Maybe
some something.
Sip of cocktail.
Let's get something. Let's do it.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Right to the serious one, but
right away a serious thing.
It's all right.
We could do the quick.
Right.
Which one? All right, good.
Well, we're going to transition from a very serious, legitimate story, Joaquín putting in the work, to words from Toni Morrison on art.
What do you mean when you say that it's the job of evil to keep you from doing your work? We have to keep doing the work through the dark times.
I get up early in the morning to write because I'm very smart early in the morning. Right now, it's about over. But I couldn't. And so Peter called me up. It was Christmas. And he usually says, hi, how you doing? So this time he called me up and he said, how you doing? I said, I don't know, Peter. I said, I feel so tired. I was writing and I can't write. And I was talking about what had happened politically that had made me so, as you say, paralyzed or not doing it or not thinking about it. And he started screaming, no, 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 no. This is the time when artists go to work. Not when everything is all right. Not when it looks sunny. It's when it's hard. And I thought about all those people who wrote in prisons, in gulags, under duress, they were doing it. So I'm sitting here going, I can't write. It's so embarrassing. But you need sometimes somebody just shake you and you realize that your thing. So it's just more interesting to me, the complicated, sophisticated, creative ways in which people do good things. They're interesting to me. Anybody can chop off somebody's head. Where's the imagination in that? You nothing. Not doing it.
I mean, I love that. And, there's always a list of like who the fascists go after first when they come into power.
Right.
And yes, it's, disabled and minority groups and that, their communities or states or countries, whatever. But it's also the artists and the thinkers because they're, I may be a little biased, but, there's some of the people who helped change the world. I really appreciate what she said. That's awesome.
Well, if you look at, they did that, Israel did that to the Palestinian art. So it
you're
fits,
absolutely right. Yeah.
And now, we're seeing TikTok, of course, back to Free Palestine is it's blocked saying Free Palestine. That comment disappears on TikTok. So yeah, you got to protect the arts because they're a lot of the most vocal critics of society and culture.
That is true. So cheers to her. All right. Should we start the show?
Sure.
We're video heavy today, and we were laughing about it because we go from like the intro of the show to
intro part two
to the cheers that we're about to have, which was, I think, pretty stunning. I don't know. Do we want to go right to that, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, look, speaking truth to power is the most important thing. We're not getting that. Our journalists get dragged out of rooms if they speak truth, but this took some balls to do in front of this very hostile audience and
massive ovaries. Yes, it did.
Amazing.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives. And the people the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
They're so salty.
That went over like a ton of bricks with this crowd, huh? I mean, it was beautiful. I don't ever really want to have religious anything mixed with politics, but that if it's going to be, that's the way to do it. Like the true meaning of spirituality. Love.
Religious, and I don't have a drop of religion in me. I kind of have a lot of disdain for a lot of religions, to be honest. But the words of all these religions, if you listen to them, that's the last thing these guys want to hear, because all religions call for treating your fellow man kindly, empathy. And if there's one thing those people watching and listening there don't have, it's empathy at all.
I mean,
so
yeah. And of course, like, we're about to get into it, but good grief, it's not looking good. Welcome home. Welcome home. We've been here.
Welcome home. I won't do the whole, I won't do my hand to the heart.
We're gonna show it.
Okay.
All right, so should we just do like a quick rundown of the inauguration? Should we start
that makes the most sense. That brings us to Elon eventually.
Exactly. Yes. So dear leader was sworn back in. Carnage Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. And the crazy thing is while, one of the things that people say when they're criticizing Democrats, and I think it's accurate, is as opposed to Democrats who are like, how stupid are all of you? The economy is great, like that kind of a thing. Like, oh my God, you're so dumb. Or why wouldn't you don't want to cast a vote for Genocide Joe or Killer Kamala? Like, what's wrong with you? Trump would be even worse, and like not trying to hear their own bases, criticisms or desperate needs or reality. Trump pays respect to it in words. But like he at least says it sucks, like your jobs went away, then he'll send them away more, or he'll bring in give migrant visas or whatever.
Look, it's populism. He at least recognizes to win you need to appeal to the voters, not shame your voters, not tell your voters they're doing better than they are. Obviously the problem is he scapegoats the wrong issues, and when he says he'll do the right thing on an issue, he won't do the right thing. So it's all just it's all enabled because the Democratic Party is so feckless and clearly not representing their voters. So or anybody.
100%. Yeah. But so just a couple little blips from here. One was, the Bernie picture where he's sitting there, everybody rises to clap for Trump, and he sat there without a mask in a big public space, but whatever, with his arms crossed, looking, sour. Apparently, and everybody wants to like make different things out of this. It doesn't matter what the truth is, because I know that, Trump is still going to send weapons to Ukraine, likely. And he brought in so many war hawks, but Zelensky apparently wanted to come and was not invited. So that was like a stupid little dig that Donald Trump Jr., says the funniest part is he asked for an invite three times unofficially, and each time got turned down. Now he's acting like he decided not to go himself. What a weirdo. I mean, the discourse. Listen, I know here we are way more interested in policy and action. I don't normally really care about what anybody says, but like it's embarrassing to have this level of discourse. It's just embarrassing. I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, look, the genocide, like as bad as Trump is in the eyes of the world, I think we'll be in better standing as Americans under Trump when you travel, because we're no longer funding the genocide. Now, what we fund next is another story.
Yeah.
But like the idea that just because Biden was polite in public, people look at America and go, "You're good people. Welcome to our country." No, they're still like, why aren't you stopping the genocide?
Yeah.
So
yeah, which is also why that the bishop who was speaking, while I agree with everything she said, the truth is that, and I'm sure Trump is going to go even further, but as of today, Biden deported more people than Trump did. The second person on that list is Barack Obama, right? And so I'm not doing a whataboutism. I want them all to be spoken to that way, right? Like Biden committing a genocide should not be able to sit in comfort in a place of worship where, our better selves are supposed to be the things that are honored, without being called out for how disgusting he is. So like that sort of like, I appreciate that it's all happening towards Trump. And I appreciate that, some liberal voters are waking up again. Most of them are actually mocking people who refuse to vote for genocide, and are now like, look, Trump is allowing.
You did this. You leftists did this. That's of course where they go with this.
It's so gross. But yeah, it's not whataboutism. It's like I would like consistency on policy, because I don't actually care that Biden, was given a script to say the right things when in the 90s he made it his issue to put as many Black and brown people into jail and destroy those communities as possible, or that he pushed for Democrats to support the Iraq war knowing it was a lie, or that he said that student debt could not be discharged under his bankruptcy bill, or that he pushed the surveillance law, or that he gave more money to cops, or that, like on and on and on. Like, I don't care that he sounds like he's empathetic.
Yeah, I don't really care that the guy came into office and his whole campaign was that he was going to undo every bill that he's responsible for, literally. And he didn't even do any of it.
Nope.
He didn't even undo any of it.
Nope.
And, his parting wish, we'll get to that. But, on his way out, he pardons his whole family, which is just one piece of the story. But his legacy is going to be Palestine.
Oh my God.
100%. And
yeah.
Trump is going to get credit for ending the war in Palestine. Now, it's not even over. He got a farce, but
he got a day of credit. You know what he got? Because he's, they're going to just destroy the West Bank. I know we're going to get to, but like he's fine with that. His, son-in-law is already investing in it. He didn't take $100 million from Miriam Adelson for nothing. She wants that project to be completely annexed, and that will become part of Israel. But what he showed was, you, as the leader of the free world, you don't work ceaselessly and pretend you're doing one thing and get credit for it. You actually go in and you leverage power. And of course that's possible. And Biden and his whole group, they were never trying. They just like Trump are completely fine with this. This is what they want. It wouldn't be happening if it's not what the American empire wanted. This genocide is the US project.
Yeah, and largely it's stopping because they've destroyed all of Gaza.
Yeah.
Like you just can't make the case that you need to keep destroying a place that's already destroyed, which is mostly
totally destroyed.
Because, the terms of the ceasefire are effectively what Biden was negotiating for a year ago. And so if it takes you a year and the terms haven't changed, it's just they finished their destruction.
Yeah, they finished.
So they're going to move on to the West Bank. They're going to move on to,
which has already started. Like right away, the 90 hostages who were released were replaced with, almost 90 more. They started killing people in the West Bank. By the way, there's a ceasefire. They're still bombing Lebanon. Anyway, I know let's stick with this, but I know like the outrage. It was nice to have Joaquin on at the beginning because it was like such a, my blood pressure
positive story.
Yeah, exactly.
But Trump clearly, let's show the clip of him talking about the ceasefire because he doesn't give a shit. It's transactional. That's it.
Yeah.
He's not even putting this on his legacy that he ended it really much.
No.
Are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2-state?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
I might. Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
It's got to be rebuilt in a different way. He says it like it was somehow the way it was built that caused its destruction.
Oh, he's just planting the seed for it to be rebuilt with
it's a beachside
hotel resorts and Trump Towers and
it's so vile. But again, I think the thing that everybody in establishment pretends to hate about Trump is that he just says flat out what they have all subscribed to and endorse and are fine with. So
he's just uncouth about it. It's just more transparent that our government is corrupt under him. Yeah. Basically.
Okay, so this was the highlight of the inauguration. I'm sure everybody has seen it, but just so you know what we are referring to, all the oligarchs were there. What do they call it? The oligarchy now. Like everything has to be like hashtag funny, hashtag the oligarchs. Like everybody's got.
I really don't want to hear that term again.
It's so because by doing
it
that,
softens it.
Yeah, it's like funny. It's not funny. They're fucking killers. Billionaires are evil fucking people who are killing every day. They are killing our climate. They are destroying workers. They are destroying our government. There's nothing like, oh, bromance. Haha. Let's have some more the stupid homophobic memes that people would do about Trump and Putin. I can see it's all just starting again. This is the resistance. This is the level of resistance.
Look, we actually need more resistance now because of the billionaire part of the takeover, right? But the last time he came into power, there was the Pussy Hat Brigade and this sense that there was going to be some resistance, but we knew as leftists that it was fake and they'd all go back to sleep immediately, which they did.
Everything was
we're not even starting with that now.
Russiagate,
we're starting with a press that's more more I don't know, chummy with the
subservient and
Trump administration than ever.
sympathetic. Exactly. Yeah. So all, who was there? There was Peter Thiel, obviously Elon Musk, Zuckerberg. They've all bent the knee. I think Tim Cook was there. Like all these people are there in front of the cabinet as a sign that we know, like Bernie was talking about it. Nina Turner was talking about it. Zephyr Teachout was talking about it years ago. We have an oligarchy. It's been an oligarchy. This is not new. But as we all know, the new thing is we're not even going to try to hide it. It doesn't matter.
We're not going to try to hide it, but Biden's final speech is like, watch out for that oligarchy, you guys.
The guy who
Watch
had
out,
more billionaire donors than anybody in 2020.
They're coming.
Yeah. And he's warning about tech also when what's her face, Kamala, had all the tech bros behind her at the beginning. And then, of course, now they're like fleed when they realized that she wasn't going to win. Anyway, here's Elon Musk given a prime spot at the inauguration and using his time to maximum effect.
Thank you. My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured.
All right.
Okay. So
obvious here.
We haven't talked about this. Do you think that was just like from his heart?
That was a Nazi salute twice.
Really? You think?
It was.
What gave it away?
We had the dog whistles in the past, but he's playing with it. He knew it would get the reaction. He knew everyone on Twitter would come for him. He knew the idea that this is some like, what's he?
They said it was because he has Asperger's.
Asperger's, like it's some Asperger related thing. It's just it's like him jumping when he jumps and looks silly. No, this guy is a genius. He did it twice. He immediately didn't apologize. He leaned into all the jokes about it.
Yeah. And also he has a history, right? Like
he has a history. Well,
yeah.
I was just going to.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. I'm not talking. I'm going to have another sip of wine while you tell me.
I'm just thinking back to the interview I watched like 2 weeks ago with his dad saying that they were all Nazis. His great grandparents were Nazis, and they moved to
South Africa.
They moved to South Africa to support apartheid, basically.
Yeah.
They
and own an emerald mine.
Yeah, his dad also says Elon's full of shit about the emerald mine. Yeah, he knows we had an emerald mine. I took him to the fucking emerald mine.
How does he think he has the wealth he has? And what was part of like the WEF, like new, like you don't get those government contracts and keep failing up if you aren't already sanctioned by the, global imperialist order.
Well, but they weren't billionaires, so he is a self-made billionaire now because
with all of his help from the government,
a humble mega millionaire,
$400 million. How on earth do you make that into $1 billion? So there are a couple of different aspects. One is, he's notoriously a white supremacist asshole, right? We know that. That's part of his history. He has been sued. Tesla has been sued many times. 3-year-long investigation from the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing reports Tesla has 0 Black executives, kept Black workers in low-level roles. In one report, they talked about how where the Black employees worked, they called it the plantation, assigned them more physically demanding work, and they were retaliated against when they complained about racist slurs, swastikas. Other reports said that there would be hanging nooses found in their rooms, in their offices, or by their cubicles if they ever complained. So that's number one. And it's funny, like I've seen people who are trying to defend him say, well, I mean, he's all for having the H-1B visas or whatever it is, to get basically
transactional.
Yeah, workers from India, like
cheap labor. It's cheap.
I don't
labor.
know. Slave owners had Black people on their plantations. were they not racist because they were surrounded by the people that they forced into serving them? Like, that's the dumbest fucking.
Well, I'll believe his dad more than anyone, probably. But I also believe his daughter. I'm just gonna say, let's call a spade a fucking spade, especially if there were two spades done in succession based on the reaction of the first spade. Fuck spades.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, also his support for the far right party in Germany,
the AFR,
the AFD, that no other political group will make not Congress with, but an association. What's it called when you work together? They did it on Survivor all the time. An alliance. With, yeah, because they are so reviled. His support of far right Tommy Robinson in Britain, who spread the lie, these the grooming gang lie that it was all immigrants who were raping and killing young girls, when it wasn't at all.
Look, we are the extremely online people, all of us. The people watching here, we know Twitter, and Twitter changed. Twitter, he allows free speech from racists.
Lots
and
of
censors people. He made from the river to the sea a bannable offense for a while.
Yep. Free Palestine.
And he's against the woke culture. I mean, this is all the language of the racists.
DEI. Yeah, all that. DEI is always like, you can just substitute that for the N word. Like DEI, they can say loudly and proudly like they're saying something real.
Which is why he's just intellectually, he's trolling at best with his little thing. It's like it's a shout out to, hey, you unwoke folks. Watch, I'm gonna even do the Nazi thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk about the defenders in a second, but the people whom that was for saw it for exactly what he wanted it to say to them, right? So the founder of Gab, which is like what is that? Just a far right white supremacist gross site. Incredible things are already happening. LMAO, wrote Gab founder and Hitlerbot innovator Andrew Torba. So it's all disgusting. The thing to me that's more disgusting is the Zionists, and there's such a close relation and necessity with white supremacists and Zionism. It's the same, basic theory of who should rule the world. And to have the ADL, who, with Jonathan Greenblatt at its head, who've said that keffiyehs are like swastikas, who thinks that, the watermelon is anti-Semitic. ADL officially admits it counts pro-Palestine activism as anti-Semitic. So that, all those reports like anti-Semitism in the US has gone up 300%. Almost 50% of those newly founded, anti-Semitic events could be 100 people at a rally. Each one would be marked as a different event every time they said from the river to the sea or free Palestine. That was considered. So when you're seeing these sort of like heightened freakouts about anti-Semitism is on the rise, it is in certain ways, but the ADL is a racist, disgusting, anti-Jewish organization that only exists to be pro-Israel. And for them to come out and defend him when they have said that the kids, half of whom are, I'm making that up, I don't know how many, but kids on campuses, many of whom are Jewish, but also, not Jewish.
Yeah, Jews for peace, anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic, terrorists, Hamas supporters, like all of that. So that's
where the ADL once existed to actually fight anti-Semitism,
Right.
I mean, which is a real thing that real people experience, right? So,
but to
cry wolf and paint this paint everything that was just protesting. It really shows a deep-rooted racism against brown people and Palestinian people. And it's not just to protect Israel, it's to harm a lot of people.
Right, because they work closely, obviously, also with AIPAC. And when you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that AIPAC has poured into our politics to get their people elected and to oust mostly people of color, but anybody who's on the left, it becomes pretty clear. So here's the ADL statement right away, being, nuanced. This is a delicate moment. It's a new day, and yet so many are on edge. Our politics are inflamed, and social media only adds to the anxiety. It seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm, not a Nazi salute like a watermelon. But again, we appreciate that people are on edge. In this moment, all sides should give one another a bit of grace, perhaps even the benefit of the doubt, and take a breath. This is a new beginning. Let's hope for healing and work toward unity in the months and years ahead.
I mean, we all can see that as what it is. It's hot garbage. I mean, for a keffiyeh, which it existed forever, it's just the people, it's their native, it's
of your,
it's design, it's culture, it's who they are. It doesn't mean war with Israel. It doesn't.
The mere fact of existing for Zionists, the mere fact of existing makes Palestinians hateful.
It sums it up, really.
That's it. Then we have, and this is, it's always crazy to me when somebody who used to call herself, progressive, Batya Ungar-Sargon, again, also rushes to the defense as a person with a strong, I don't even know why she put that in asterisk. What the fuck does that mean? But whatever. Track record of criticizing Elon Musk. I feel extremely confident asserting that this was not a Nazi salute. Elon Musk is a friend to the Jews, not this Jew. Sorry. Nope. He's a friend to racist, genocidal Israel. This is a man with Asperger's. Okay. So now imagine a man with Asperger's exuberantly throwing his heart to the crowd. We don't need to invent outrage. So now, this is how they really, it's so telling, because she's going to say it's his Asperger's that makes him do Nazi salutes.
Yeah. And what's the track record of
Asperger's? I thought you were going to be like, is that like a common thing with people with Asperger's? Because I think a lot of people with Asperger's or who are on the spectrum on any level have word with her.
I would forgive him. I mean, if it was a Tourette's thing, that's more likely because that's a trigger, thing. But Asperger's is not associated with
like impulse control in that same way, right?
Like things are not things you should do. So it's just he's excited and he does it twice.
Yeah.
And it's so clearly not. That's the other gaslight. The gaslighting online of still pictures of all the Democrats. Like, I hate every Democrat you're showing, but this is not a whataboutism. They're not the same. Nobody thinks any of those other things were possibly even remotely a Nazi thing.
A Nazi salute. And by the way, like, if he didn't have a history of being a racist, anti-Semitic fucker, I would be like,
the first thing he did on Twitter was lean into all the frog stuff.
Yeah. The Pepe the Frog, anti-Semitic stuff, neo-Nazi stuff, 100%. So this is the same Batya who, when the Zone of Interest director won his Oscar and got up to do his Oscar speech, says, I simply cannot fathom the moral rot in someone's soul that leads them to win an award for a movie about the Holocaust, and with the platform given to them to accept that award by saying, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness. Which, as a reminder, I know everybody knows, but just for the sake of history and accuracy, Jonathan Glazer got up with his, he was the director. He's Jewish. He was making a movie about the horrors of the Holocaust and the people who can just go on with their merry lives as these horrors are existing. He consulted with the Holocaust Museum, with the Auschwitz Memorial, and also his sentence didn't stop there. It continued. The full sentence was, right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation, which has led to conflict for so many innocent people.
Yeah. How many articles were written about refuting his Jewishness? And they just ended it right there.
Yeah.
And they pretended that was the whole story. Just like the still picture of AOC up here with her arm,
Right.
where she goes to hug somebody speaking to her. She's literally leaning in to hug somebody. And they're like, well, what about that? And like, we're all stupid not seeing what we're seeing. Like the gaslighting, it's just next level. And the media pretending still that this is sort of, it's ambiguous. Oof.
It's so disgusting and so dishonest, only to use it for what? Like, what was the point of that? A Jewish man makes a movie about the horrors of the Holocaust and genocide, and people ignoring it and saying, how do we resist these sorts of horrors that continue to this day? Like, I'm honestly trying to understand what her motivation is. Like, who's paying her for that? Who does that? Why would you possibly?
I mean, it's Hasbro shit, you know?
Yeah. It's
probably is paid directly for it. I mean, you got Alex Jones out here now being pro-Zionism, and he taught a lot of people to hate Jewish people. You know?
I mean, you know, I always have to like think through it as I say it, but the only people who anti-Semites hate more than Jews are anti-Zionists, because anti-Semites and Zionists need each other. They love each other. White supremacy brings them together. One could not exist with, or at least Zionism could not exist without anti-Semitism. They hate people who want liberation for an occupied people. It's just so gross. All right. Is there anything else on this horrible person? No.
I mean, he's pushed the great replacement theory.
That's it. It's very small, but he's retweeting somebody who's talking about immigrants taking over the US.
Right. And you have to look at it two ways. Either he's this racist piece of shit, or he's just taking advantage of the opportunism in front of him with this tribe of MAGA folks to entrench his wealth by owning our government. It's one or the other. But you can't say he's not doing this stuff we're all seeing him do.
Right. And by the way, like, you know, his relationship with the ADL started off pretty rocky because he was so clear about his great replacement. He responded to somebody, and we didn't find the tweet for this, but one of the things that got him in trouble initially with them is that one of his, you know, anti-Semitic frog, Pepe Le, whatever, you know, followers on Twitter wrote something about how Jews are always complaining. And then the thing that they're mad about is the thing that, you know, that they want to cancel other people for is the exact thing that some of us have been saying about, you know, and he put agreed, right? And like basically said, Jews need to stop complaining. This is why everybody hates them, kind of deal. He and the ADL got into it. He then went on a whole, you know, like basically like a birthright tour of Israel and, you know, kowtowed to all the right people. And now because he is 100%,
he bought his way out of it.
Yeah.
He's using it.
Yeah.
It's like he and Kanye had a lot of the same views.
Yeah.
You know.
I am not as mad at Kanye as I am at Elon. And maybe it's just because I really like Kanye's music. I'm joking. Okay. I know, horrible. The other, you know, okay, so here was another thing, and we talked about this a little bit on Sunday about the people who are going to be performing, who performed at the pre-party on Sunday, and then I guess that was actually it. It was Snoop Dogg.
Snoop.
And we showed that clip of Snoop Dogg from 2020, really taking to task anybody who would come to perform for Trump, or 2016, sorry. And now Snoop was playing at his
Yeah.
the pre-celebration.
Snoop said it was like Uncle Tom stuff, basically, for a black person to perform
Right.
for Trump. And then
Yeah.
here he is performing for Trump.
Right. 8 years later. And there was also there was Nelly and Rick Ross, right? And a couple other people. And I thought it was interesting. I don't even know Nelly's music. I don't know Nelly at all. But he was on one of, like a entertainment show. And the man who was talking to him, so I don't know any of these people because I don't watch entertainment shows, was Willie D Live. It was a show asking him, how could you do this? How could you be so traitorous to come and perform for Trump? And, the interview goes on for a while and we're about to show one small clip, but he starts off saying, I don't know, President Obama was sitting next to him at Jimmy Carter's funeral, laughing it up with him. Like, why are you saying this? Like, if that's okay, what's the problem here? Like, why are we doing this? But then he also did say this, which is something that you and I were talking about on Sunday, which I just think is interesting, as everybody's going to try to make Trump the worst person in the world, whom I cannot stand. I know I always need to say it. Cannot stand Trump. I've hated him since the 80s. But here's what Nelly had to say.
I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because it's an honor. I respect the office. It don't matter who is in office. The same way that our men and women, our brothers and sisters who protect this country, have to go to war and have to put their life on the line for whoever in office. So if they can put their life on the line for whoever in office, I can damn sure perform for whoever.
What do you say to the people that say we're not giving you this backlash because of your political affiliation or your political choice or whatever? We're giving you this backlash because you are propping up a white supremacist.
I would ask them to show me where he's a white supremacist. And here's the thing. Okay, I get it. He did say, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, right? Oh no, that wasn't him. That wasn't him. Hold on. I'm trying to think. Hold on. He did create
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
He did create the crime bill in the 90s, which said that if you get caught with 5 grams of crack, you do a mandatory 5 years. That had mass incarceration. I think even the Vice President Kamala spoke on that part, that said that the crime bill played a huge part. No, he didn't do that. Let me see. What did he do? I'm trying to think. The white supremacist. Hold on. I'm gonna get to it. Okay. He did not rent to black people. What was it, in the 70s or the 80s? Is that what they said? And like, oh,
so we all get it.
Yeah.
Right. I do think, like, if Kamala had won, there she was, surrounded by billionaires, surrounded by tech bros, not letting prisoners out of jail because she needed slave labor to fight fires, right? Like, nobody would have said anything. They would not have said, oh, you're and by the way, funding a genocide. Like, no distance between her and Biden with the genocide, right? Like, nobody would have said, oh, you're a traitor to us because you're supporting Kamala.
I agree completely on that. I think it's great that he brought up, all these things about Biden, and, he made the connection you're making with this is happening under this was the racism for anybody who went and spoke as a black person who sang for Biden.
Yeah.
That was the racism there. But the inequality, where it's kind of rubs me wrong, is it's sellout shit. I'm sorry.
100%.
I
agree.
You know what a piece of shit Trump is, and he's a racist. And I'm a white person saying that to a black guy, so do what you want. I'm not calling you an Uncle Tom or something. That's not my lane to do.
But what would you have said about people doing that for Biden? Like when Beyonce showed up.
And I agree with that. I agree that the people who who praised Biden like he's some racial justice warrior when he lied about marching with MLK. He lied about so much of he was on the wrong side of the civil rights fight. So, you know, fuck Biden entirely. I'm not saying that, but
I mean, I'm all for again, I'm not trying to do, you know, I'm not doing it like, oh, Dems are bad too. And but what I want that kind of level of standard
for both,
for everybody.
Yeah. Because what Nelly did directly was pure whataboutism. I mean, it was 100%. Well, what about Biden on this? What about them on this? What, you know, it didn't counter any of the things that people say about Trump, because you can't really refute that Trump is a racist, in my opinion.
Oh God, no, but you can't, but I mean, Biden also a huge racist, and they're both disgusting. And I do think that the idea that we only hold one person to that standard and not the other is part of what gets us to this, right? Like nobody trusts nobody trusts corporate media because they don't call out. They talked about Biden being empathetic and Trump being a pathological liar. Well, Biden's a pathological liar. Biden lies about everything. He's a liar. So, you know,
no one is more proven to be a cold-hearted liar in history. Like, he dropped out of 2 races for being caught lying, plagiarizing a speech and lying about his college shit.
Right.
Saying he was
like that kind of thing. I just, you know, and I do think, again, like I have to say it again, hate Trump, blah, 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 awful, racist, disgusting, everything. But is there something to, well, it's the president of the United States and just the way, you know, the Secret Service has to serve him, like I have to show up, like, or no?
A little. I mean, I'll give some deference to some of that, in the sense that if you are fighting for his approval on some legislation, you want to get prisoners released like the Kardashians, or, you know, you want something, I mean, start out on a good note. We're all together. This is a second term. Maybe you're thinking a lot of that was rhetoric, but then, you know, the day after the election, you've got 100 executive orders that are all just the worst things that could happen to the country in executive orders.
Yeah, I know.
You know, he shows himself, but I mean, I get the sentiment of, we're Americans. This is an American moment. This is like singing at the Super Bowl or something, you know, to some people.
Which, by the way, like I want all these same people to come for Kendrick Lamar, unless he does something really that turns everything on its head. But at the Super Bowl, like, what are you doing in front of all these racist billionaire owners of the NFL teams? You got Kendrick Lamar. He's going to come sing at the halftime show, right? Like, I have a problem with all of it. And it's just, I wish we were not, sometimes I just feel like it's just, I mean, I know we all feel this, but like team sports, and I want that consistency of standards to be held for everybody.
Yeah. And of course, and because it hasn't been held is the reason why every time they talk to somebody about it, you get the whataboutism. And wouldn't it be nice if the last president didn't do all that shit?
Right.
You could say, you're breaking the norms because you're the only racist we've had in a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or if journalists said the same thing to anybody who performed for Biden. Like, hey, how are you performing for Biden when he was against integration?
Right. Bring up his record.
Wait, exactly. I'm really sorry. Thank you, Justin. I smell smoke. Give me a second.
Okay, I'm gonna play a video or something. I got my cat doing the zoomies back here on I got a new blue screen instead of a green screen back here. Okay, let's get some lighthearted something or another. Puppets, goats. Here we go. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
One, two, three. I'm not.
Oh, that's right. Stop.
I'm being teamed up on. Oh.
go.
Ready?
I didn't mean to worry everybody. Josh is cooking.
Is that it?
Woo. Sorry. And I did just come back. So that was really cute. It goes, I really just want to say again, like, I am not doing a whataboutism. I am trying to point out that I wish that nobody, that I wish that people had spoken up, like what Kamala did at that debate, where it was just a debate, but that was true. It wasn't true for her, or it was true for her, whatever. I don't give a shit. But like, Biden's a racist asshole, right? Like, he's disgusting. So that should have been pointed out by all the people who were pretending that we had restored the soul of a nation with him. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody disagrees with you on that.
I just wanted to make sure. Sorry. Okay.
What's Josh burning?
It's kale. He's making some kale.
Oh, that's the first mistake. What are you doing making kale? How is there a grill involved in kale? I mean, if anything, there's some water and
he put it, like, we roasted it on broil to crisp it up. It's really good, but I just smelled it, and I keep getting alerts on my phone. I mean, it's just so crazy. I can't believe I can believe it, but God damn it. Okay. I missed the timeline cleanse clearly because I'm still all riled up. I need to fill my glass as we move on to the next thing.
I think you should fill your glass. And since we're still on Elon a little bit, hopefully this Key and Peele, should we show it? I just can't not show it.
I know, it's so good. Let's
if
show
we're done,
it.
we'll see you on Rumble.
No. Yeah. Hey, and I saw a few people, and thank you for signing up for Rumble. I know it's like the right wing, blah, blah, blah. But by the way, just as a reminder, that's what they said about Substack at the beginning, and now everybody's on Substack. But anyway, I've not explored Rumble. We just are broadcasting to it. Also, if we get shut down, we will quickly revamp even this thread or this stream. So, but yeah, here goes. It's
fun. And you can also probably, does it kill our Twitter stream too? I think Twitter stream would still be up, I think.
No, I think it gets the feed through YouTube.
Oh,
but anyway, yeah. But
anyway, Key and Peele, Comedy Central.
Fair use. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get tagged. Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, we're still on air now though, so that's good.
I know. We'll see. And yes, thank you, Truth to Tweet Locals. We're gonna do all of it. We're setting up our own website. It just it takes everything's taking time, but we're getting there. Yeah. Okay, moving on to oh my god. We didn't pull the clip because you can barely even understand what Biden is saying. But when he's turning the keys over to Trump, he says, "Welcome home," gives him a handshake, and they smile. And, I know the peaceful transition of power and democracy and all that. You cannot talk about somebody as worse than Hitler and Putin's puppet and the death of democracy and then say, but we're just doing rules and norms, guys. Like nobody takes it seriously. Like it's one or the other. I believe they're both threats to our democracy. So I wouldn't shake either one of those fuckers' hands.
They are, but after seeing Obama and Trump yucking it up, and they're all, it reminded everybody of like George Bush passing gum to, Michelle Obama passing gum or something
to throat lozenge. By the way, she took a stand. She did not come to Carter's funeral because she didn't want to sit next to Trump, and she didn't come to his inauguration. And fine, great, do it. But like, you also hugged George W. Bush and gave him throat lozenges. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, this is where the Democrats branding, if it's all just fucking branding and they're the same parties, these moments make it all fall apart because you welcome them home, you're all chummy at this thing.
Welcome home.
And it's backed up by what you do, obviously, with legislation and how you failed as a president. But your final words as Biden are, hey, watch out for oligarchies. And here, all my kids are pardoned. My kids are pardoned, and Fauci's pardoned, and all these people that you guys on the right think are criminals. Well, they're blanket pardoned for 10 years.
Going backwards. Like, why? I mean, we Sam Husseini has had a very busy week, and we'll get to a little bit of not an asterisk, but like an extra little thing that we just found about the very same people who were calling him out for being a cringy activist as he was being hauled out of the press conference with
all of his colleagues who have mainstream media access pretended they didn't know who he was, or that he deserved to be in the room, or that he had press credentials, or they know him very fucking well.
Of course they knew
they
who
should
he
get
is.
sued. The CNN guy should get his ass sued. I would sue the fuck out of him if I was.
I mean, yeah, we should just show that really quickly because it's just it's a small little bit, but on Sunday we showed the two yahoos on the left there, Pamela Brown and Alex Marcotte, talking about repeatedly interrupted by man. I mean, for fuck's sake, asking questions about U.S. policy in Gaza as they pull Sam Husseini just for asking Blinken, who's just standing on ceremony giving a speech. I know we already covered this, but anyway, and they do a whole thing about how it's cringy and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking through to find out that guy's name, Alex Arcart. Just recently, the jury found that CNN and his reporting specifically defamed a security consultant in Afghanistan while they were talking about this guy. And I mean, anyway, charging companies to extricate Afghan people from Afghanistan as Biden was doing the withdrawal. So he's found guilty. The reason was he called it a black market scam, basically. And black market implies that it was illegal. And the man who filed the suit, what's his name? Not John Lovitz. That's not Young. I can't remember his first name. Somebody Young who sued him. And he was the guy who was charging. And he says he only charged big companies money to, get people out individually on his private plane and his, whatever it was he was doing. And that the reporting saying that it was black market, implying that it was illegal, caused him basically to lose his whole business, whatever a person may think of that. But the other part of it was Marquardt acknowledged that he recreated a cell phone call that he made to this man who got people out, who didn't pick up. And at the end of the video shoot, because he had recreated it, you even see him or referencing the John Lovitz thing where John Lovitz would be like,
acting
like that, right? So he picked up the phone, and there's the whole, teleplay. What's it called? They typed it all out,
Chiron.
Yeah, but it's
or transcript.
Thank you, transcript. You guys, the transcript of him saying that he picked up the phone, there was no answer. It wasn't done in the best angle, so they did a pickup shot of him then just pretending to be on the phone so they could insert it as he was doing the piece that he's sued over, where he's talking about this guy Young doing this black market extrication of Afghan like translators and helpers, aides to U.S. envoys to get out. But he recreated it. And again, and he says, oh, we do it all the time. This is when you're putting together a TV package, you need a bunch of different shots to be able to edit it together and tell the whole story. It's a very standard practice in a production to get as many shots as possible. He acknowledged that he had recreated the call, but noted that it was standard practice. I mean, again, like I talk about broadcast news all the time because it feels so quaint. It's like the quiz show, like, oh, they were giving the guy who won everything the questions before. And that was, in the 50s or 60s. And that was a huge national scandal. And now we know, like, they gave Hillary the questions. There's talk that they gave Trump the questions when his debate with Biden. Like,
yeah. And how many people at MSNBC were proven to be working with the Hillary campaign? I mean,
yeah,
Jonathan Capehart was running bullshit stories. He got fired for it because they had to make a fucking stance because it was so open, and then got rehired. Just come on back. People forgot about it because
it's a production
long enough.
It's a show. It's just a show.
An entertainment.
Like, it's not news. It's entertainment. You got to fill that in. What you need to see the journalist on the phone to imagine what it looks like to make a phone call. It's like B-roll. We need B-roll. Like, it's so gross. But this is the guy who is saying it was cringeworthy to watch Sam Husseini and Max Blumenthal ask actual questions of Anthony Blinken while he's committing a genocide, sanctioning the ICJ, and asking, why aren't you at the Hague?
And he also alluded to, like, they need to look at how people get into that room, something like that. Like, that part, he knows that it's credentialed and you can't just sneak in. He made it sound like this guy just got past security somehow. When he's been in that room, raising his hand, not getting his question asked for a year. I mean, we showed when we had him on last time, it's because he did drag he got a question asked and he thrashed him, and we knew he'd never be asked a question. He'd never be called on again after that.
Because he called Matt Miller out on smirking when he was talking about the number of people who had been slaughtered in the genocide, and he's smirking, and that's what he called him out on. Like, why are you smirking? And he's like, I'm never asking you a question again. They all know this. Of course they know it. Okay. Anyway, that was just an aside as a follow-up because I didn't even know that guy's name, Arcad, whatever the hell. But the fact that he had to recreate, it's like the tier.
Yeah. He's on all the time because he has no personality, kind of. He just looks like a guy who's a straight reporter.
Yeah.
Saying shit like this, but he's just like the central guy. Yeah, exactly.
He's just there doing whatever they tell him in his earpiece.
Yep.
I need to watch that movie again. I try to watch it every few months because it's just so brilliant. But yeah. Okay. Should we spin the wheel or what are we doing?
Sure. Sure. Spin it.
God, we still even have like,
oops, where are we?
Talking about the press. We have Matt out talking about the oligarchy. We got a lot.
Yeah, baby.
Well, you're definitely going to land on something we don't have, which is probably
here. You're right. Although, what I will do just really quickly, and because it's his birthday, so I feel like, that's why it's appropriate, is Italian socialist. Right. And then we can even spin again, or we can just pick something fun because we all deserve like a moment of fun. But is here today, it's the birthday, Antonio Gramsci's birthday. And, he talked a lot about cultural hegemony and how, it's like a precursor to manufacturing consent, right? And how consumerism and styles and what's appropriate is crafted by the people in power, and how we all have to resist that. And it has to involve workers also. And, he was a great communist. He was put in jail by Mussolini, and his quadretti, his notebooks from prison were widely distributed after World War II. He had already passed away, passed away. And, but anyway, so two of the quotations that I think we hear quite a bit are the old world is dying and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters, which I love. And daydreams, this I really love. Daydreams show lack of character and passivity. Everything is easy. On the contrary, it is necessary to direct one's attention violently towards the present as it is if one wishes to transform it. Pessimism is the intelligence, optimism of the will. I love that, because that's exactly, you know, when people talk about MLK and like the arc of justice is long, but the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. But people miss the other part of that. MLK also wasn't saying like, just lie back and be optimistic. No, you have to fight for it. Like, we will get there. Okay, we can be optimistic, but that is work. It's activism. It's not just like hanging back and thinking good thoughts.
If some mantra gets you out of bed in the morning to make your day better, and you see some feel good thing with a rainbow behind it or whatever, and it moves you personally, great. That keeps you moving. But like, a movement can't just be like positive all the time. We need to be honest, and pessimism is intelligence. Just like with masking and COVID, like, hey, we can just hope a cure comes around the corner, but like, we got to be vigilant. We got to fight to get masks. We got to fight to protect these kids. We got to get more Joaquín Beltrans in our life, and we all need to be a little more Joaquín. And realism, anger,
and action. Like you cannot hope. Hope does nothing. Hope doesn't do anything without the action to support it, for sure. And sorry, because I just saw something. Oh, Truth to Tweet. It's a broadcast news. One of my favorite movies. I talk about it all the time. But one of the big moments, was a journalist recreating a moment, and that was enough to end a relationship, which I love. Okay. Did you want to do something?
You called for a timeline cleanse of sort?
Yes, I did.
This is going to change your palate. That's all timeline cleanse is supposed to. You don't even have to enjoy it, but this.
I hope
this
it's
changes.
a cat.
This is terrible. You're welcome.
And so the goblin part.
I've always been a goblin, and I've always played the cello, so putting them together seemed natural. Yeah.
And by goblin.
By goblin,
I wanted you to ask.
Okay. Goblin.
Take it away.
Take it away, my friend.
Okay. All right.
What are you doing to us?
I don't know. It should be at least a minute shorter.
This is the guy from the.
It looks like,
Lord of the Rings. That's so funny. Yeah, Justin, this is terrible. You're welcome. I don't know if that was exactly time cleanse, but yeah, you know what it was. It made
it's a palate cleanse.
Yeah,
it's like
it is a little bit.
Whatever we forgot everything before that.
I like it. You're right. That's not hard for me recently with my brain issues. Yes, Deborah, it's so crazy to me that Pete Buttigieg's dad was a Marxist, and so was Kamala's. God, they must be so. I mean, I know they're both passed away at this point, but just rolling in their graves about where their children are. Are we going to see Pete Buttigieg re-enter the chat?
Oh, 100%. But I mean, I feel like the Democrats in 2028 have nothing. We don't know right now what it's going to look like, because all their options are they're just so performing so poorly. Like there's no love for any of them. And
I
that's
don't even know
kudos
any-
to us because they can't put that shit in front of the public and
Yeah.
expect them to get by anymore.
Yep.
So
I mean,
fuck 'em.
you know, I saw AOC doing, I mean, I couldn't even watch them, but I just saw like the thumbnails of the Instagram videos that she's doing about Elon Musk being a Nazi. And like, yeah, of course, I think that has to be called out, but also, you know, I mean, Nazi, okay, whatever. I don't want to, you know, use incendiary terms that people say it's too much. And so that's why we don't believe anything, but white supremacist. But like, where was she on Biden? And also, and again, like, I'm not like, yes, do it, but do it equally. Like, let's have some consistent. What are your principles? Do not stand behind a person who made his career on jailing and destroying whole communities, and then also is committing a genocide. Like, I don't know. Like, yes, Trump is disgusting, but like, God, who's moralizing at this point?
Well, Trump is doing, I mean, we didn't even get into a lot of the executive orders, but I
Oh
mean,
my God.
so many awful things via executive order, but like, let's just take the WHO, you know, he wants to get rid of the WHO, right? They've been underperforming things in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like they have not been as alert to the public, you know, they have not been alerting the public nearly as much as they should on these things, but
yeah,
to get rid of them is absurd. And the people most upset about it are ignoring their shitty little minimal advice on COVID. So like, you're a centrist mad that the WHO is going away. Are you following their advice?
Yeah.
Are you listening to anything they fucking say?
Airborne. Even
Why
though it
aren't
took
you?
them a
Because
while.
of fucking
Yeah.
Joe Biden. So now all of a sudden you're like, we got to save this thing that's telling us to do this thing I'm not doing.
Yeah. Like the Paris Climate Agreement. Like, you know, gross that Trump, you know, has like backed out of that and the World Health Organization. But like, what was the Paris Climate Agreement supposed to offset?
Yeah,
Getting to
1.5
1.5 in 20 years. We've already surpassed it. So like, it was all like negotiable and voluntary anyway. Honestly, I'm just fucking holding out for China to step in and fix everything. And yes, I mean, I'm glad that Leonard Peltier is free, but
not
also,
Steve Donziger.
I know. But also his sentence wasn't commuted and he has to serve it at home and he still hasn't even been released. And also, like, what the fuck? You could have done that day one. Like, by the way, Trump is walking in. I hate everything about him, but he's walking in and right away, like, telling everybody, I mean business. Like, it's a lie and whatever. But
he's showing his power though. He's
yeah.
using it and he's saying Supreme Court, you know, executive orders can only be overturned and deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. That's it.
Right.
You know, I mean, look, he's declaring he has powers over states that are clearly not there. Supreme Court's going to say that's not applicable.
But he's moving. He's doing action
something
for his supporters. And here's the other thing he's doing. And I do think that this is such a big difference between Democrats and Republicans. He pardoned the guy who was the founder of Silk Road, which was like a dark web. I think they did.
There's a whole movie about it I saw.
I don't even know. I think
Silk Road was like the secret dark internet you needed to find a way on where you can get anything.
Right.
You can get drugs, you can get guns, you can get all kinds of illegal stuff sent right to you because it was like the dark web. And this kid made all this money off of it.
Yeah, he made a ton of money, put in jail. I think the only charge that actually was the charge that he was serving 2 life sentences on was the drug charge. But there have been talk about human trafficking, and even like he like paid in Bitcoin to kill 5 people who didn't even exist. It was like a trap, but he was willing to do it, and that's enough. But anyway, that was not part of the charges. He was already serving the 2 life sentences. I don't know. It's all a mess.
Yeah.
And people get pardoned all the time who are awful, and people who are innocent or not guilty are not pardoned. So that's actually not even the crux of what we're saying right here, which is, and this is reported by Semaphore, Donald Trump promised members of the Libertarian Party that he would put a libertarian in my cabinet and commute the life sentence of Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht, a top demand of a political movement that intends to run its own candidate against him. Imagine Democrats not only not doing anything for their own left flank, but doing it for the Green Party. On day one, sorry.
Well, but this guy was basically like the Leonard Peltier of the Libertarians.
The Libertarian Party.
To them,
Libertarians are not Republicans.
Yeah.
They're their own party.
So he did this to appease a segment of his party where Biden waited to the last day of his whole term. So he got no benefit from it at all politically. It didn't help him to just do this bare minimum thing and not forgive all these other crimes like Steve, who was a whistleblower against Chevron.
And even for Peltier, like didn't
fully commute the sentence.
But he didn't fully pardon him
Right.
But again, the Libertarian Party, like, you know, the Democrats spent 2016 to 2020 screaming at, Green Party voters for giving us Donald Trump, right? Green Party is separate from the Democratic Party in the same way that libertarians who took way more votes from Donald Trump in 2016 than Jill Stein voters in 2016 took from Hillary. He wants to win over voters who might be won over. On day one, we will commute the sentence, Trump said, offering to free the creator of what was once the internet's most infamous drug clearinghouse. We will bring him home. His speeches more typically include a pledge to execute drug dealers, but he went away from that. It's time to be winners, said Trump, asking rhetorically if third-party delegates wanted to go on getting single-digit protest voters. I'm asking for the Libertarian Party's endorsement, or at least lots of your votes. Imagine a politician trying to get votes instead of shaming people who want something.
Yeah, and clearly we get the opposite action from Biden, who acts like, "Oh, I'm embarrassed those guys are part of our party," to anyone on his left, when all those issues are hugely popular. Well, it might offend a couple people on the right. And Trump said, "You know what? I don't give a shit what the people way over there think, because I'm going to get my votes where I can get my votes." And Biden should do the same on the left and not worry about what the people that will never vote for him think.
Yeah, exactly.
But they, obviously the strategy and the optics of it stuff it's kind of a red herring, because really the donors don't want any of that shit. That's what it always comes down to. It's not about winning. They really don't want those policies to pass. It's not a bad strategy choice. This is my point.
Right.
It's
right. Because on the right, the further right, like the people who extract concessions or who are holdouts on the right are doing the bidding of very wealthy people always, right? So whether it's the Freedom Caucus or the Libertarian, like they are funded by very wealthy people. Nobody on the true left, no leftists, no Marxists, no communists, socialists are being funded by very wealthy anything, because the whole point is like, it needs to be.
This is where the whataboutism is, like, you need some whataboutism.
Yeah.
Because look at the scumbag that Biden pardoned recently. We didn't even pull a slide. I barely read the story, but he pardoned a real fucking true.
Oh, the kid. You mean the kid for cash, the judge?
Yeah.
We talked about that. No, we talked about that.
Okay, we covered it last week.
Yeah, we did. No, we talked about it because that happened right after he pardoned his own son. He pardoned that. I mean, he pardoned there was a sweeping one, and I think that judge, the kid for cash judge, who took money to send innocent kids or just kids to prison, he pardoned that guy.
Yeah. So some of these pardons, I guarantee you, they're back channel bot. The Silk Road guy, all the libertarian stuff that Trump is saying, he's still Trump's going to get some money off it. Some people in his orbit are getting money
It is
off of it.
all
It's,
transactional, 100%.
it's not
And
just the
that's
boat.
the problem, which is why when people are like, well, you know, again, like I know Bernie, but whatever, but like all moneyed interests are against the left, all media against the left. Like there is a difference, because when you're at all, like if you're an established Democrat, which is already a far right party, all the way through to the far right, whatever, the Koch brothers and Peter Thiel and all these fuckers, they fund the chaos agents and the far right, whichever, like the like the reason that what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has that fortitude to withstand what AOC doesn't is because she's got huge donors who are like, just go fucking say no. The reason that Kristen Sinema, or whatever, Kristen, whatever, puts her thumb down against the $15 minimum wage, like she's being financed. So she knows who she's doing it for. So all of the people who have that kind of fortitude and they look like they're courageous and they're holding out, and it only takes one, and it does take courage and all that. But I mean, if it were somebody on the left, but for these people, they're being financed. Like they don't give a shit about their constituents. They don't care. Oh, like I do think, and I do not want to excuse Bernie Sanders too much because I'm so disappointed in him. And he's like the only person I even have any hope for in all of Congress. But I do think that there are times that he thinks, okay, if I just stay here, maybe I can get one more little thing passed, and if I leave, who's going to take my place? It's like nobody's getting anything. I'm not excusing him, but I'm just saying the reason that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and all, like, they do that because they're well funded by powerful people who have their backs.
Yeah, it's just that with both parties, we're beyond the point of there being a downside to doing something unpopular politically.
Yeah,
you get it. You'll be a consultant. You'll get a CEO board chair position. You know, whatever political thing takes you out of power, there's money for it. You're going to get paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, you're going to lobby a job or whatever. Yeah.
Along the same thinking, the experiment that, okay, the people, the villains on the right and the left are all doing it for their donors. So we had this experiment. Hey, what if we all donate to Bernie? What if the people all donate? What if we just elect a squad and we all just put our money in and they'll be responsible to us, the donors? Well, that's failed. Let's just own up to that. That is not a strategy anymore. Inside, outside, you know, inside maybe 5% to 95% outside. You know, let's stop pretending there's any change going to come to this country by electing somebody.
Not even a drop. Nope. Zainab, thank you. Trump's libertarian appointment is Mises Caucus. Oops, sorry. I just want to.
I like the "we tried" me.
I know, and wait, I feel like maybe we didn't do. Okay, sorry. So MAGA Dems do the same thing. They put Republicans in all the time. Of course they do. Even when Biden was going through the 2019 primary, he helped fundraise for a Republican running against a Democrat in like Wisconsin or Michigan or something. And then I'm really sorry because of my brain. Did we miss Justin's super chat, or did we already say it?
Oh, I think he donated twice. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
Justin, thank you also. Zainab, Justin, Hope, thank you.
Trump didn't stop Palestine genocide. He got a ceasefire for Gaza, lifted the 2000 bomb ban, dropped stellar sanctions, and greenlist the West Bank. Yeah, and when you follow it up with Trump just saying, well, he doesn't really know if the ceasefire is going to hold. It's not our deal. It's up to them. He's forecasting. He's foreshadowing that all kinds of war and bad things are coming. The military industrial complex is on his back already. They need they need to keep this thing going. And it's not on me. I did my thing. So agree completely.
Yeah, nobody here for sure is a Trump supporter. Reflect the Sun. Thank you. You guys all, thank you all so much. And Deborah, thank you for letting me, sorry, boom. It was in Michigan where Biden raised money and like stumped for a Republican. And they're like, Bernie's not even a real Democrat. Whatever.
Yeah, we have so many examples. I mean, Pelosi, going against progressive for an anti-abortion person right when we
Henry
lose Roe
Cuellar,
versus
yep.
Wade, you
When
know.
Jessica Cisneros, she was right there. Yeah. Okay. As you were saying, it's already 7:10, but as you were saying, Biden goes out pardoning 5 members of his own family, which he said he would never do. I don't care because he lies all the time. Who the hell cares? I don't even care that he pardons his family, but pardon all the people that you locked up for a dime bag. Like, pardon all of them.
Pardon them. And obviously the hypocrisy of him saying a million times, you know, and there's so many clips going around of him saying,
I would never.
when
It's
Trump
the
was about to
standard.
leave, that Trump shouldn't pardon people, and it would set a dangerous precedent. And then here he's pardoning people not even on the radar. I mean, potentially on the radar with a fascist coming in, but it's just a terrible. Nobody believes the Democrats, and they shouldn't. And he
They're
just
just
keeps
as corrupt as
emphasizing why
Republicans.
you shouldn't
Yeah.
believe them.
Yeah. It's just, again, it's not like the reason that we went through 4 years of Biden just to get right back to Trump is because nobody is holding the party of opposition accountable. They pretend that Trump is some anomaly. And now that he's back, they're not even doing that. They're just mostly like, I mean, all the oligarchs are lining up, all the tech bros, all the wealthy people, and we need true independent journalism more than ever. And so when they pretend that like Trump is his own path and not just what Republicans have always been, and also not what most Democrats now are as well, it doesn't serve anything. Like we're never going to get out of this if we keep whitewashing who Democrats are.
Yep. And the importance right now is even more obviously on our own action. And, you know, we've got all the union stuff and work. The labor movement is where we should be. We should also be practicing mutual aid and preparing for a general strike. I think Joaquín, it's great to talk to him because that's so important that we follow more of that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
The next time you're going to think about like reading another book of theory, maybe just join a local group and do something, you know, or give some funds to some local groups doing something.
Absolutely.
Because theory involves, in all these cases, building a local community and a local network.
I really feel like that's one of the biggest things is community and reaching out and getting to know your neighbors and talking to them and your community. It really is. Daniel, thank you. I was looking for a super chat thing to read, but we will
say anything you want. We'll read it out loud.
Yeah, anything.
Lila will even do the heart to the sky thing.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
For a couple bucks.
Okay. I think, is that where we are?
I think we should. I did want to, I was finishing my thought is the other thing we need that we see more than ever is that the press is going to be worse this time around when it comes to corporate interests. They're going to be even worse than they were before. They're whitewashing all these billionaires around him with all this bro billionaire. I don't even know what the stupid sayings are, but broligarchy, but which was put out as a derogatory term. I watched the person who made it on Stewart. But where I'm headed with this is support some local media. I know Jordan Sheridan again with another environmental disaster.
Yep.
We've
happening in California again.
We've got a lithium. They make these lithium battery plants in Salinas Valley. It's something like 70% of the vegetables and greens and fruits and things that are spread across California come from that area, and they're all getting exposed to some toxicity, which we don't know the level of because, as always, the government is like, well, we don't really know how to test. We don't know what to test for. Meanwhile, all this is landing on soils. It's going to leach into the groundwater as well. It's all bad, and he's on it. So support people like him doing the real work.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I do just want to say, because just as a reminder, really quickly, all Democrats joined in to vote for Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. And not only that, remember when we couldn't do the filibuster for minimum wage increase or anything important during Biden's term? They all got together to help do this
limited base breaking the filibuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laken Riley Act, which basically allows us in the US to do what Israel does in Palestine and lock here illegal immigrants up just on a charge or a suspicion, and they can just be there. It's like administrative detention, which is what Israel does to Palestinians all the time. To children, they do it all the time. We didn't even get in depth to Israel. It's a horror show, but
it's a shit show. And
the fact that Democrats like figured out a way to get around the filibuster to do this horrifying Laken Riley Act. I mean, I don't know how much proof people.
If you're not done with the Democrats, you should be. Obviously, don't go right. But
yeah, do not go right.
Do not go right. All right.
All right. You guys are all awesome. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to Joaquín Beltrán, who's back out there with his P100, cleaning up the mess of our billionaires and oil executives and corrupt politicians. Thank you. Thank you all. We did not go into Israel as much as we should have. There's so much devastation that's continuing, but there have been a few moments of peace and joy, and we should just celebrate those when they're happening. The CNN horror show that pretends to be journalists has never once talked about the Palestinian journalists, over 200, who have been targeted and assassinated by Israel. But for a brief moment, they got to celebrate and take off their flak jackets and their helmets. And we salute anybody who speaks truth to power. So cheers.
Cheers.
Keep punching up. We'll see y'all.
See you Sunday.
See you Sunday.
قلبي وروحي بكوفية وبلادي أحلى من أحلى صبية سياجة قلبي وروحي بكوفية وبلادي أحلى من أحلى صبية نغمة يرغول تحلل غنية ونقول عاشوا ونقول عاشوا الفلسطينية عمرك يا الوطن ما تفارق بالي كل ما الحسوني غني بتلالي عمرك يا الوطن ما تفارق بالي كل ما الحسوني غني بتلالي يشرب من نبعي ويضرب العالي ويعود يهدد كف الصابية ونقول عاشوا ونقول عاشوا الفلسطينية